Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Peter Ture from Business Review, and I'll be your host today. It is our pleasure to have with us Presspart, who will be presenting us on the webinar titled The Future of pMDIs, Plasma Technology, an Innovative and Sustainable pMDI Surface Treatment. Now, today's guest speaker with us will be Richard Turner, who is the Sales Director, and Jacqueline Green, who is in Business Development. I'd like to welcome everyone here to On24. You notice that this platform is browser-based, so if you do disconnect for any reason, please just click on the link that you received via email to rejoin the session. In order to ask questions, you can send them in via the questions widget. To type them into the box at the top right-hand corner of your screen and click Submit. We will then allocate some time at the end of the session to address any thoughts or questions that you may have. Please also use the yellow help widget if you require any assistance in terms of moving, resizing, and maximizing any of the windows in front of you to help get a better view of today's presentation. But for now, please allow me to hand you over to our first speaker of the day. Richard, over to you.
Well, welcome to our webinar on the future of pMDIs and specifically plasma technology. As introduced, I'm Richard. I've been with H&T Presspart now for just over 20 years, and I'm currently responsible for our global sales organisation. Jackie.
Thanks, Richard. So I'm Jackie Green, Global Business Development Manager based at our Blackburn site in the UK, and I've been working at Presspart for 7 years.
Okay, so the key learnings we would like to share with you today are the plasma process, principally how we prepare and clean the canisters, and then subsequently how we treat them. We'd like to share how plasma improves the overall pMDI system. And of course, with any innovative process, it's important to understand how we validate and check the quality of the final product. Finally, and equally as important, we want to share the key aspects of the process, the product, that address increasing drives for sustainability. I will start with the obligatory but important introduction to H&T Presspart. Then we'll have a short poll just to warm things up a little bit. And then on, as usual, to Jackie, who do the clever stuff. We'll have a second poll, and after a short summary, some questions and answers. And I apologise in advance if we don't get to all of your questions, but we will follow these up in the coming days. So Presspart is currently centralised in Europe with 3 manufacturing sites of excellence. Blackburn, just north of Manchester in the United Kingdom, Tarragona, just south of Barcelona in Spain, and Marsburg in Germany, which if you put a pin in the centre of Germany, you're pretty much going to land in the car park. The manufacturing sites are supported by a global sales footprint. It's important for us to service our customers' needs locally. And we have an office now, a commercial office in North Carolina on the east coast of the United States, in Montevideo in Uruguay, servicing Latin America and Central America, in Cheyenne, China, for China and Taiwan and Japan, and Singapore to service Malaysia, all the way down to Australia. H&T Presspart has a dominant market position and is the world leader in the manufacture of non-invasive drug delivery systems with over 50 years experience. H&T Presspart's manufacturing facilities are state-of-the-art. Presspart Blackburn is the centre of excellence for metal components and can manufacturing, including alternate substrates and secondary treatments, for example, plasma. And it also incorporates our Inhalation Product Technology Centre, Jackie will touch on later. Presspart Tarragona is the centre of excellence for our plastic mouldings and complex assemblies, and they will incorporate our new product development centre. Presspart Marsburg is our centre of excellence for coated can manufacturing, mouldings and assemblies for our DI and DC counter systems. Presspart manufactures a proliferation of components and sub-assemblies for drug delivery systems. As you can see, some of the most recognizable examples are above. Our standard range of pMDI canisters, our actuator, generic range of actuators. We have here some contract manufacturing organization devices we've done for other people. You'll recognize the Adhesion system for GSK and the Synchrona from Sanofi Aventis. On the top right, you'll see our Powered Air Plus system, which is our capsule-based off-the-shelf dry powder inhaler. Bottom left, some examples of our dose counter and dose indicator I've already mentioned. We have some dispensing actuators where we partner with different pump manufacturers. Our plasma internal CFS treatment for MDI canisters. And on the bottom right, you can see we also have a footprint in connected devices. So we move to our first poll.
Yes, so the first question of today for the audience is, what is the biggest issue you currently face with pMDI development? So your answers in this case could be drug adhesion, drug degradation, or shelf life extension, as well as we need to find out what would you say in this case. Richard and Jacqueline, what are your thoughts on this one before we move over to the poll results?
Well, quite frankly, I think they're all really important. It's interesting to see which order people might rank them. Clearly, drug adhesion and drug degradation mean you haven't got a working product. Shelf life extension is a nice to have if you can get it.
Of course. Jackie, what about your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly the same, really, to be honest. It'll be interesting to see which is the top, because obviously we're going to cover all three aspects later on in the presentation.
Definitely, definitely. All right, let's see what the audience has said. So, as you can see, drug adhesion appears to be the most popular answer amongst the audience. We will continue on and let's see what else we could find out in this case. So, back to you, Jackie and Richard.
Okay, thank you. Interesting that drug adhesion came out top, so I'll cover that shortly. So an introduction to plasma then. Presspart pharmaceutical canisters that have been around for over 50 years in pMDIs are manufactured from 5052 aluminium. However, there are two main failure modes that some formulations can exhibit. So drug adhesion, obviously we've mentioned that just now, where the drug sticks to the internal surfaces of the canister, and you get this with suspension formulations. And also drug degradation, again mentioned in the poll, where the drug starts to deteriorate over time due to interactions with the natural oxides and organic residues present on the internal surfaces of the canister. And you get this with solution formulations. So with increasingly complex formulations and molecules in combination being developed, as well as changes in propellant and the need for more sustainable, future-proof solutions, the role of the canister changed from one of just safe containment to that of an integral part of the drug delivery system itself, increasing the importance of drug and canister interfaces. So in order to prevent drug degradation then, canisters have been produced using an alternative substrate, so stainless steel, for more aggressive formulations, and also aluminium cans that have been anodised. So this is removing the natural oxides and organic residues by replacing them with a structured aluminium anodised layer. Both of these methods provide a barrier to enable reduced drug degradation. However, in most cases, both are only useful for solution-type formulations, so don't address the adhesion issues that we have. There are higher costs associated with these two can types. Also, anodizing only slows down the degradation process. It doesn't actually prevent it from occurring. So, another can type to be created was spray coating, or FEP, a fluoropolymer coating. So this addresses both adhesion and degradation issues by providing both a barrier and low surface energy. But again, there are some disadvantages associated with spray-coated cans, including cost and sustainability. With all this in mind, Presspart partnered with Portal Medical to develop a solution that addressed all these issues. a solution that provides the best performance characteristics at lower variable cost than the alternatives, no supply or legislative barriers, and freedom to operate across all drug candidates in all markets. So, I introduced the Presspart plasma canister that we would describe as the gold standard, and hopefully I'll be able to convey this to you in this webinar. So what is plasma then? It's actually known as the fourth state of matter. So obviously we have solids. You add energy to these and they produce liquids. You add energy to the liquids and they produce gases. Add energy to gases and they produce plasma, hence the fourth state of matter. So it's the ionization of readily available gases to create performance surfaces whilst maintaining bulk properties. So plasma, or fluorocarbon polymer, FCP, as it's also known, is actually a nanolayer on the internal surface of the canister. It's important not to mistake it as a coating though, because it's not something applied directly onto the interior can surface as with spray coating methods. Plasma is actually a change in the molecular structure of the canister interior through a combination of pharmaceutical gases, creating this plasma that is covalently bonded to the aluminium surface. So it can't be separated from the surface, and with the treatment being limited to the internal surface of the can only, label, adhesion and filling line performance are not compromised. So why use plasma then? So as I previously mentioned, plasma addresses the two common failure modes seen with both solution and suspension formulations in the form of degradation and adhesion. Both of these failure modes are becoming more apparent in studies due to more challenging and complex molecules being developed. And one thing related to the poll is that it's important to mention that with reduced degradation in solution formulations comes an increased shelf life because the product has a longer stability before the buildup of impurities have an impact. Therefore, pMDIs have a longer shelf life with plasma cans. APIs in solution formulations don't adhere to the canister walls, ensuring what goes in comes out, improving delivered dose uniformity. So using readily available and environmentally friendly, high purity gases means that plasma is a future-proof solution. Plasma is also a sustainable process with low impact on the environment. The existing surface treatments, spray coating and anodizing, or alternative materials, stainless steel, are both expensive and or use chemicals that are either undesirable or have long-term supply chain issues. And these FCP plasma-treated canisters are only available from Presspart and are patent protected. So in terms of the background to plasma then, as far back as 2010, things were kicked off with a small chamber with Portal Medical. This was development equipment and wasn't utilised for commercial supply. Plasma was then introduced to our Blackburn site in 2011 with the first two commercial production chambers. 2014 saw an expansion with a further 4 chambers, significantly increasing capacity to meet demand. And semi-automated processes were introduced to further increasing efficiencies. From 2018, we introduced our fully automated plasma system, doubling capacities again. This is a modular system, allowing us to further extend capacities at relatively short notice. We have gained significant experience in the provision of this robust, high-performance solution from over 10 years of supplying the pharmaceutical industry. So we'll now move on to a short video clip describing our process in a bit more detail. So once our cans have been pressed and cleaned, they are placed into a bowl feeder at the start of the process. The cans are then fed along a conveyor belt into the jig placing machine. The cans are then automatically placed into the jig until it is full. One jig holds 600 cans. The jig is then transported on the monorail through to the plasma processing clean room. The robotic arm then collects the jig tray and transports it over to the plasma pod and places the jig into the pod. So the cans are placed with an electrode inside each can. The pressure in the plasma chamber is reduced to form a vacuum. Processed gases are fed into the chamber, and RF power is applied to the electrodes. This causes ionization, which produces the plasma. And this is deposited as a nanolayer that's covalently bonded to the internal can surface only. Once complete, the jig is removed from the pod and placed back onto the monorail. It is then transported back through to the jig unfilling machine. The cans are then automatically removed from the jig by the machine. As the cans flow along the conveyor belt, they are 100% inspected for the presence of plasma by a camera vision system. The cans are then packed and placed into our warehouse ready for shipping to customers. Numerous quality control tests are performed on our plasma cans. The first being dyeing test, which quantifies the surface energy of the can. The dyeing ink is applied and the plain aluminium can wets and the plasma can beads, showing low surface energy. The second test is copper sulfate. This checks for a uniform and robust surface. The solution is poured into the cans and left for 1 minute. After this time, the plasma can has no reaction to the copper sulfate and the plain can has a reaction, as you can see. The final test is contact angle, which tests the repellency of plasma using a tensiometer. A water droplet is placed onto the can base, which appears more rounded on plasma cans, so having a higher contact angle, and less rounded with the plain can, so having a lower contact angle. So, in order to provide some scientific data to assess the performance of Presspart can types, to demonstrate just how effective they are, and obviously to support the advantages I've mentioned so far, we've sought analytical data from an independent CRO, so Dave Lewis and the team at Oz UK. 2 studies have been conducted using a solution formulation, budesonide, and a suspension formulation, fluticasone. The studies are currently ongoing, but the data so far has been remarkable. So for the fluticasone suspension study, plasma, spray coating and plain cans were tested, since anodised and stainless are only used for solution formulations. The metered dose target for the formulation was 125 micrograms. Initial data has been collected so far, and the plasma can results were the best, meaning the least wall deposition or adhesion to the can walls, so as you can see on the left of the graph. Spray coating was not quite as good as plasma, meaning more wall deposition seen with the FEP can, and plain also performed as expected, having the most adhesion to the can walls. And the same trend followed for both fine particle dose, so the mass of the dose with particles less than 5 micrometers in diameter in the center of the graph, and fine particle fraction, the mass of the dose with particles less than 5 micrometers in diameter, but expressed as a percentage of the metered dose, so on the right of the graph. So plasma outperformed spray coating, or FEP, and plain also didn't perform as well either for both of these. With the difference being seen at initial time point, you can imagine it's likely that we'll see a similar trend for future time points in terms of performance of the pMDI due to the can type. So for the budesonide solution study, all can types were tested for chemical stability of the budesonide molecule in contact with the canister wall. The data has shown so far at the 3-month time point that plasma, anodised and FEP all have excellent chemical stability, measured by total can content. So there is high integrity and the inertness is clearly shown. Plain cans started off strong at the 1 month time point, but then saw a drop in stability at 3 months as expected. You can see on the right of the graph. Stainless was the worst can type for chemical stability at both the 1 month and 3 month time points. These lower values are from degradation as a result of being in contact with the plain aluminium and stainless surfaces. So in other words, budesonide instability on contact with those materials or oxide surface layers. So this external data links into what I mentioned earlier about the product shelf life increasing with the use of a plasma can for your formulation. And in terms of formulations, here are some examples that work well in plasma-treated canisters. This list is not exhaustive and is constantly being updated with other formulations. As you can see, single, double and triple API combinations are all compatible. Plasma cans work well with formulations that are in the pH range of 3 to 9. And to be honest, anything outside this would likely be an irritant to the human body anyway. As you can see, the list doesn't just include typical respiratory APIs for asthma and COPD, but also other APIs such as cannabinoids, nicotine and epinephrine. So we've talked about what plasma is and the technical aspects. Now we'll move on to sustainability. So with sustainable solutions becoming increasingly important globally, both in life in general and within the pharmaceutical industry, I feel it's important to highlight, I've already mentioned that plasma has numerous sustainability benefits over the other can types, and we'll now explore these in a little detail. So you get reduced energy from the elimination of a heating process within coating lines, means that there are reduced CO2 emissions. There are no harmful emissions from the plasma process. Because plasma treatment uses a combination of gases, 4 in fact, there are no solvents or chemicals involved as with anodized and spray coating. This increases safety and lowers risks for workers and the environment. It also means that plasma treatment is future-proof, since solvent-based polymer coatings include constituents that will fall under REACH regulations, so may not be around in a number of years' time. It also means that there are no measurable extractables or leachables with plasma, and the amount of gas material used within the plasma process is only in the micrograms per batch. You get significant reduction in aluminium usage. It's actually 30% less material, because a thick wall can is required for spray coating to withstand the heat that's involved in the process, versus a standard thin wall can used for plasma. And finally, energy consumption is also reduced by 50%, since plasma is a low energy, single stage treatment process. So to put these sustainability differences into perspective, here's a comparison table comparing all the Presspart can types. As you can see, plasma ticks all the boxes for sustainability, and traditional spray coating is actually the least sustainable can option. Finally, on sustainability, we all like facts and figures to support any statements. So here are the CO2 footprint values for plasma, anodized and spray coated processes. Plasma is actually not much higher than the value of a plain aluminium canister, just to put it into perspective. And to contextualize this, for every million cans, the FEP coating process has a carbon footprint of more than 6 times greater than the plasma treatment process. Anodizing is 10 times greater than plasma. So here's a summary of the main advantages of using a plasma-treated canister over other canister types. I showed the sustainability section just a few slides earlier, but as you can see, plasma also ticks all the boxes in terms of both the quality of the internal can surface following processing, and also in terms of the performance features that the canister type provides. So I'd just like to pick out a couple of points from this. Firstly, XPS data has shown that plasma is uniform across all internal regions of the canister, so it fully replicates the contours and high aspect ratios. Secondly, costs are important to everyone these days, and plasma offers benefits over other can types, whilst also being the most cost-effective can type in comparison to other performance equivalent options. So for example, with stainless steel comes the obvious cost in material differences. Anodizing is a secondary chemical process with increasing environmental and legislative challenges. And spray coating is typically a solvent-based process requiring high curing temperatures that dictate the use of thick-walled, higher material usage canisters. I think we'll now move on to our second poll.
Thank you very much, Jackie. So, ladies and gentlemen, the second poll question of today is, what is the most influential aspect when choosing a canister type for a development product? So we have future-proof solution, enhanced drug performance, costs, and environmental sustainability. All right. So, Jackie and Richard, any thoughts on this before we then move over to the poll results?
Well, I think they're all important, really. I guess at the end of the day, you're looking for something that is going to last, so you want it to be future-proof. You don't want it to be kind of falling under any regulations or anything like that. Mm-hmm. You obviously need a high drug performance. And then environmental sustainability, obviously, as I mentioned, that's becoming increasingly important. So for me, I think those three are probably the top, but we'll see what comes out.
Sure, that's fine. All right, so I'll pass you over the poll results to analyze.
Yeah, perfect. That's over 60% are enhanced drug performance, which you'd expect. That's what you want out of your canister if you're going to put products on the market. So that's a good result, and it's good to see that cost second as well. That's interesting.
Excellent.
Okay, so if you would like to investigate your formulations with our plasma cans, our Inhalation Product Technology Centre Lab, or IPTC, based at our Blackburn site in the UK, can support you with a whole range of analytical testing and services so that you can compare your existing pMDI performance versus plasma can performance. Obviously, it came out of the poll that performance was top, so we can assist you with this. So IPTC services include basic in vitro testing, such as delivered dose uniformity, aerodynamic particle size distribution, as well as drug adhesion testing, development filling and crimping capabilities, and stability chamber facilities for more lengthy studies of degradation, for example. We can also look at general component screening to determine the most suitable cans, valve and actuators to ensure you have the most effective device delivery system compatible with your formulations. So in summary then, if you're looking for a safe, efficacious, future-proof solution for your pMDIs, then plasma-treated canisters should be your first choice over other canister options. I've already talked about the costs and how plasma has low variable costs compared to the other treated cans. And obviously cost came out as second in the poll. So I've got another point to make relating to cost. Plasma cans provide an improved end-of-life performance for pMDIs versus plain cans. I've demonstrated the independent data to prove that. The end-of-life means less drug overage needs to be filled into the canister to guarantee the label claim, so the minimum dose is available to the patient, thus further reducing costs for the customer. Plasma provides a solution to the main issues encountered with both solution and suspension formulations. The plasma treatment process and chemistry is patent protected and freely available from H&T Presspart and is a more sustainable solution to other canister treatment methods. So thank you for listening to this webinar on plasma. I hope it has given you a good insight into our plasma treatment process and why it's considered the gold standard of canister types for pMDIs. Please contact myself if you have any further inquiries or wish to receive more information on anything we've discussed today. And now I believe we've got time for some questions.
Yes, thank you very much, both Jacqueline and Richard. And just a quick reminder to the audience, in order to ask questions, please submit them into the top right-hand box of your screen and click submit. But in the meantime, the first question will be, have you done any stability trials with plasma cans and low carbon propellant like HFA 152A?
An excellent question to kick off. It would be remiss of us if we weren't doing exactly that with a number of different drug candidates. So the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Jacqueline, do you also have anything to add to that as well?
No, that's it really. Obviously, I showed you stability data earlier. That was based on HFA 134A. But yes, we are working on other things as well.
No problem. That's fine. So, what gases are used in your plasma process?
Well,
we're not going we're not going to disclose that in this forum, unfortunately.
No problem. That's fine. So, how many FCP plasma canisters are you currently manufacturing?
Well, I think this year we're planning to do just over 25 million.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. No worries. And are the FCP plasma canisters already marketed or approved in the US?
It is approved in all major markets, including the US. I don't want to get into the details of which drug and which customer, but yes.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Jacqueline, do you have any thoughts as well or anything to add on?
No, not really on that. Just as Richard said, it's used all around the world, so it's not a new thing really. It's not a new technology.
No problem. That's fine. So, someone asked, so what formulations are currently using FCP plasma cans?
Well, we showed the table on a slide earlier on. Yeah, obviously single, double, and triple APIs. As I said, the list keeps getting updated all the time with customers that are doing new developments and things. But there's plenty of scope for various formulations. And as I mentioned as well, it's not just typical respiratory APIs for COPD and asthma. There's others involved as well in there.
Sure, that's fine. So one person also asked, is the plasma line based in Blackburn?
Yes.
That's easy.
All right. All right, no worries about that. So another person asked, do you refer molecules names which is best fit with plasma can? As on date, we are getting good data with normal alu. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I think.
Yes, if you could.
Oh. Go on then.
Go on. It says here,
sorry,
do you refer...
Jackie, Sorry, Jackie, if you have the answer, please step in.
Yeah, I'll answer it. It's fine. So, yes, you may get data. You may get good data with a normal aluminium can, but we're saying that plasma cans provide an improved end-of-life performance for MDIs versus plain cans. And obviously, I mentioned about using less drug overage. So if you're looking to kind of improve your end-of-life performance and use less drug overage, then plasma cans are something you should possibly consider. And obviously, you saw the data for the adhesion results and the performance. So plasma is performing better than plain cans.
No problem. Thank you for that, Jacqueline. So, between both you two then, Jacqueline and Richard, what do you think the future holds for coated cans due to their high CO2 footprint and the chemicals used?
Well, obviously we discussed
who knows?
Yeah, and obviously we discussed that plasma is only slightly higher than plain aluminium cans. So plasma would be an option for the future in terms of the lower carbon footprint compared to other coating methods.
Mm-hmm. Sure. All right. So is Presspart's FCP canisters comparable to reference product canisters such as of Flovent and Advair?
Yes. I think that's an easy answer. So that's it. Comparing it to the PTFE coatings used in Flovent and Advair, absolutely yes.
Mm-hmm. No problem, that's fine. So another person asks, any other uses though of plasma technology on other industrial field to share?
Maybe I'll jump in there.
Oh, yeah, go on.
So plasma is a it's a surface treatment which can change the chemistry of the surface and how it reacts with any kind of formulation. So there's lots of different applications with plasma, depending on what you're trying to achieve. We use it as a barrier technology or as a low surface energy technology, but you could have it hydrophobic or hydrophilic. You can change the polarities in the surface. So there are all sorts of other drug delivery system applications for plasma.
Thank you for that, Richard. So, was there any initial pushback from regulatory authorities when first proposed as a can treatment?
No, I think like all regulatory authorities, they're very careful about things they don't know. But if you do the work and explain what it is and back it up with data, then finally, they get accepted. The pharmaceutical industry itself is not a great recipient of change for the obvious reasons. Patient safety is paramount importance. So we need to be careful what we do and how we do it, and we need to back it up with data. And we spent a lot of time doing that with plasma before it entered the marketplace.
No problem. Thank you very much for that, both Jack and Richard. So, to the audience, if you did not get your question answered, you can submit them at a later date. So that just leaves me to thank both Jacqueline and Richard for a great presentation and to Presspart for sponsoring this session. Now, to all the attendees, you'll receive an email shortly on how you can access the on-demand version, or you can access this on our website, which is www.business-review-webinars.com. We look forward to sharing future webinars with you, so please do keep an eye out on our website, as mentioned, and follow us on Twitter at BRWebinars for daily updates, and join our LinkedIn community group. Once again, thank you very much for attending today's session, and hope you all have a very great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.